other institutions, bodies, and agencies of the European Union. Warm welcome to everybody. I can see some colleagues from the basic IATE training. Some things that I would say, I'll repeat them a little bit, but just I will not go in detail because this is an advanced training and I suppose most of the terminologists already know this. But just so you know, some of the features will be repeated a little bit without going in detail. And of course, welcome to all the experienced terminologists who have done terminology for many years. So I hope that we can also provide some new information about the new features in IATE, or maybe remind you of something that you might have forgotten. My name is Nadezhda, or Adi for short, and I'm one of the main terminologists in Term Court. And with me, you can see Anna. Anna, wave a little bit so that everybody can, yes, this is Anna. She is seconded to Term Court and she is a Polish colleague from the Polish translation unit. So she will be doing the training today with me. We opted for a live demonstration, so we are not going to go over with the PowerPoint presentation because we thought even though it is so nice and neat to see everything in a PowerPoint presentation, it's so much better to see it in a live demonstration. So I'll just start with the PowerPoint presentation, but to give you the background information very quickly, and then I'll go to IATE and start the live demonstration from there. What else? Yes, very important for training purposes, we would like to record the session. So I'm asking right now if there are any objections. If yes, please let me know. But I I would really rather record the training because it is so much easier to have it after that, and also to share with other colleagues who might haven't had the time to come today or just forgot something. And we had such requests in the past with the past advanced IATE training. So if you need a recording afterward, just let us know. I gather there are no objections, so we'll record the session. And the last thing, and then I'll start, really is I would, if you like to follow what we are doing, please log on in IATE now, because most of the advanced features, you cannot see them. You can see only the basic search to some extent. Well, you can see it, but you cannot export the terms. You can see search by collection, but of course not all of the collections. But you cannot see the advanced features. So if you want to actively follow what we are doing and do it yourselves, log on now. But I would really recommend just to lean back and let us do the work today, because you get the PowerPoint presentation afterwards, and it is quite detailed with all arrows. Do this, do not click here. So it's not really needed to do the steps yourselves today. I would recommend just to listen. And anyway, we are preparing tutorials on all the features, starting from basic search, expanded search, and so on and so forth. It takes some time, but it will be there, so we will let you know about this. So I'll share first a PowerPoint presentation. I'm just waiting, so I'm sure that you can see it. Yes, according to my computer, you can see it, so I'll just go with that. Right, so this is the title of our training, and let's start. I'll do well, a little introduction and then get to business. So why are we doing a training on IATE? As you know, IATE is the normative terminology tool. There are other tools, of course, but there are normative memories. There is Quest, of course, as meta search. But what we can see there, it's how it has been translated, and no, not really how it should have been translated. So IATE should be the normative, and is actually the normative terminology too. Of course, there is still work to be done in IATE, work for cleaning, but still it is much better than all the other tools that we have. And why, another reason why we are doing this training on IATE, well, IATE has been developed all the time, and there are quite a lot new features. So it's always good to know all the new developments, and to take advantage of them. And of course, we have new colleagues in all the institutions, new terminologists who would like to know more about maybe not exactly the very advanced features of IATE, but still how to, let's say, create a new term or add another language to already created term. Why is it advanced? Well, we already did the basic training, and it was dedicated to some terminology work, but it was intended for all terminologists, translators, language professionals, but also assistants, because in the parliament, the assistants are quite involved in this work, and in some of our language units, even assistants are using the terminology, the TRM, for downloading term bases and helping the translators this way. The advanced training today, it is intended for terminologists, especially, and legal language professionals, and of course all the colleagues who would like to know more about the advanced features. And why us? Well, that's a very good question. I would just say we were just the first so brave, or maybe naive, to do a training like this. It was requested by CDT, our IATA developers, and we said, well, why not? Sure, let's do this. So we hope that we can live up to your expectations. And my mouse is not working anymore. All right. This is not so good when this happens. Well, if we, I didn't expect this to happen. I expected to happen with IATE, but not with PowerPoint. Okay, and then I'll stop sharing and reshare again. Maybe I should not spend so much time on one slide. And anyway, I'll just go to IATE afterwards. So let me see. Yes, now it works. So I'll give you the outline for today very shortly and very quickly, the background and aim and content, because most of you know about this. Then I will just show you some of the new, maybe for you, features in the basic search. This will be done very quickly because it's a part of the basic search. The same goes actually for the expanded search, because it's also part of the basic IATA training. And then we'll spend more time on the collections. What are collections? Why we use them? How we add the terms to a collection? How do we search by collection? How do we export something that we've searched for? Then I'll show you the very cool new feature, Interpreter's View, which is absolutely amazing. I love it. It's not only for interpreters, it's actually for everybody. And how you do the export of collections. Then we'll go to the advanced search, then the batch search, and then we'll spend just a few minutes on the IATE marks, because this is the way of communication for most of the terminologies. And I'll show you also another feature in IATE that is called Download IATE, and it is mostly interested for colleagues who do not work for the institutions but can still have an EU login. And of course, everybody can use it. And then Anna will take over and will explain how to add a language to already existing entry, and how to create a new entry from scratch. So just a few more words about what IATE is. I'm not going to go into any details. You all know that it's the terminology database of the European Union, and we are so happy that the Court of Justice joined the IATE project, and the latest, the SKIC the interpreters from the Commission. You can see on the here that translation, the CDT, the Translation Center, these are our IATE developers, and thanks to them, we have all our new features. So just a few words about the background. 2004, IATE was created, the three glossaries of the Parliament, Council, and Commission were merged. 2007, the public IATE was deployed. Now we don't have our IATE and public IATE. We just have different roles for the users. 2018, the new release, what you see here and what you see when you log on in IATE, the new version was released, and it allows us to do so much more than what it was with this yellow one. And IATE is managed by the 10 EU institutions, and it's public and free, and you wouldn't imagine how many people in the whole world use it, because we have our quite extensive cooperation with universities around the whole world, and for them it's the Bible. So we, we have to be really proud of this. Well, the main aim is to support the multilingual drafting of EU texts, in particular legal texts, but not only. And the specific function is to provide relevant, reliable, checked, easily accessible data, which represent a distinct added value by comparison with other lexical information, what I mentioned before, with Quest, for instance, or normative memory, memories in general, not only normative memories. Well, we have more than 8 million terms, nearly 1 million entries. We have average of 1 million searches per week, and all this statistic, actually you can see it, and it's public in IATE. So we have 21 domains, and it's good to know this, and hundreds of subdomains, what is based on Eurovoc, and we have an additional domain, which is called Law, Court of Justice, which was developed or deployed for the specific needs of the Court of Justice. So I'm not going to go into any details. Everybody here, I suppose, know that it's one concept, one entry. If we have synonyms, they belong to the same concept. They are in the same entry. And now I'm going to share IATE, and we'll start from there. Yes, you can see it. You can see it now. You can see that I'm logged on here in IATE, and let's start. Just a few words about the basic search, because I'm sure you're familiar with this. You either have your IATE ID, or you go for a word that you are searching. And what is interesting here, and it's interesting for me also to see if you have paid attention to this. Well, rule of law, you see the results and everything. Well, of course, if you have rule of law and not the IATE ID, you have to put your source languages and target languages, either MAU, either display all languages, or your specific languages that you want to see. So this is all not new information, you know how this works. But what is interesting here, you see this is highlighted in blue. And this means here and here, what is highlighted in blue, it means that this is exact match. The principle, rule of law only, rule of law, this is exactly the same thing what I've written here, the exact match. Principle of the rule of law, this is obviously, there are some words in front of rule of law, this is called the exact string. So, you know, the anchor language, well, obviously the reliability, and you're familiar, I suppose, with all these icons. You can see all the definitions and some notes, references directly from the first page. So let's have a look at all of them. I just want to scroll down to remind you that there is also the evaluation, and what we have is, of course, preferred, which is green, and pay attention, of course, to the red ones, because, well, we have preferred and admitted the gray ones. I'm not going to any details for this. You know how it works. The red ones are the tricky ones. Do not use them. This is deprecated, so it means wrong in the EU context, so to speak, and obsolete. It means it was there. This was the term before, but now it has changed. So in simple terms, it's an old term. Do not use it. And of course, we have the orange one, the proposed, which means that it's been proposed, but it has not been accepted yet. But it doesn't make it a bad term. It's just there to for you to pay attention. Okay, so let's go into the IATE card, into the IATE entry. And just a few words here, because this is very important in order to understand how, in general, IATE works, and especially the advanced features. So for every entry, we have 3 levels. The first level here, this is called the language independent level. It is all the same for all the languages. This is the second level, the availability of the languages plus definition. And the third level is the term level, where you can see the terms themselves with references, term type, reliability, and evaluation. So it is always a very good idea to have a look at all these, well, 3 levels, actually, not all, 3 levels, and see which fields belong to every level. And as I said, it's quite important, especially for the advanced search. Right. So what you have here at the language independent level is, of course, the domain and the cross references. And I must say the central coordinators in all the institutions, they pay attention to the cross references more and more. They are becoming more important, because it's always good to know how this term how corresponds to others. So you can see here we have rule of law, but this current is broader than primacy of law, because it's a principle, and primacy of law is just a part of it. For instance, there can be also different kinds of references. Something that I want you to see as well is, if you want to see something very important, the collections to which the terms are linked. This is the way to see it in the IATE entry. You go to the little I here, which says show more. And if you click on this level expands a lot. And here you have all the collections to which this term is linked. And this can be also quite important if you prepare a term base or some other type of database. Okay, so this is the basic search, nothing, well, some things are new, but it's not so special. So let's go to the expanded search, some words there, and I'll take what I am omitting, like for instance, the evaluation, and not showing this. All of this information is in the PowerPoint presentation, but I just don't want to go in detail about this, because first it's a part of the of the basic training, and also we won't have time to give you the information about all the advanced features. So let's go rules of procedure. And it will be, I have source language by default, English, and target languages. By default, there are 24 languages for me, but yeah, it takes a long time. If it takes so much time all the time, maybe I can switch to the PowerPoint presentation. Well, so rules of procedure, we see 148. This is quite a lot. So how can you filter this to your needs? And for this, you need the expanded search. So you open it from here, and you see different filters here. So you can go for the matching, what I just explained, exact match. So it will be rules of procedure and nothing new, or exact string. By default, it's all words. I wouldn't recommend any words because it will search for any of these words. And partial string can be useful because it gives you a string inside of another string. So for instance, if you are looking for some kind of handbook, but you do not know exactly how this is called, you can just write down book, go on partial string, and it will find all words like handbook or rule book or script book or whatever book. So in this case, it is very, very interesting. So you see the term types, nothing new and nothing special there. Search in fields. Well, of course, you can search, let's say, you want to see all the terms that have as term reference rules of procedures. So you go term reference, and I don't dare to go on search. I have the figure somewhere here. Yes. So for term reference, we'll get 2,280 terms. They have term reference rules of procedure. And if you go on O, something that I wouldn't recommend because it is too expensive and it will take forever, you get 2,614 entries. Something that's very interesting and was also a part of the basic IATE training was how to filter by domains. So for instance, in domains, but first I get rid of this because otherwise we will wait forever. Only term. Filters, domains, you can just write European Parliament, click on the domain, and you get the rules of procedure of the European Parliament. The same goes for collections. For instance, you go to expanded search, and let's say you're looking for the rules of procedure of the Court of Justice, also exercise we did in the basic IATE training. So you take Court of Justice, for instance, search for their collections. They're not many, but they're very valuable. You find the rules of procedure and you do not click on this. And that's why it's so good to do it live, because like this, you can see that you can always make mistakes. So let's start again. Rules of procedure. Search, please. Right, expanded search and collections. Ads, open expanded search of collections, institution, Court of Justice, search the collections. I'm showing this once again because it is quite interesting to see how it goes. If you want to filter by collection, and this is knowledge that you can also use in other features. So you do not click on the collection, you go on add to selection, which is the plus button here. So you go on plus, and then you go on search. And in this case, it will show only rules of procedure that are included in the collection of the Court of Justice called rules of procedure. Of course, in French, because their names are in French. And we have 5 terms, so it is very, well, it's quite obvious that we'll find it very easily what we are looking for. Right. So in order to, if we have some filters, like for instance, domains or collections, do not forget to get rid of them, because afterwards they'll be only searching here in the collection. This is the way to remove from selection. You go on the minus, and it is different from the domains, because let's take this domain. If you want to get rid of the domains, you go on in the front, it's remove, you see the little bin there, and you remove it from there. And the other way is the other way is you can filter by owner. So you see that here you see everything, all the owners except the SCIC interpreters, because they are still cleaning their data. So if you go on owner, for instance, you click on all and then again on all to get rid of all of them. And let's take investment bank, for instance, as an owner, and more often than not, we'll get the rules of procedure of this institution. So play with these filters. It's very interesting. It's fun. And when you're ready with the playing part, do not forget to take away your filter, because then it will be applied afterwards as well. So expanded search, this was the first level of the expanded search. The second level of the expanded search, when IATE has finished searching, is this. You open the expanded search. This is what we've just seen. And if you scroll down, you go to show more. And this is where some magic happens, because you see the second level of expanded search. So you can play with all these filters. You can take out not primary entries and look only for primary, only not confidential entries. For instance, collections, you can add the collections here. The validation, you get rid of the not validated, for instance, or pre-IATE. Reliability, you don't want to see this with 2 stars or 1 star, or downgraded to star without a color, and so on and so forth. So this is also nice to play with, and there are a lot of filters just for your information, so you know where to find them. Okay, so I think this was a very quick recap of basic search, the structure of the IATE entry and expanded search. Do you have any questions so far? Well, I suppose that's not. Okay, so let's go to the next topic, which is collections.
Sorry,
Yes,
can I ask you a question?
of course you can
Smaranda
always
here.
ask.
Sorry, I
Yes,
could
hi.
not connect so that I can say that I want to ask a question. You mentioned there a filter which is confidential documents. What does it actually mean? I mean, can you really access confidential documents, and how confidential are they in this case?
No. Well, there are two confidential two levels of confidential, and well, not two levels, two different kinds of confidential. So it's not confidential documents. An entry can be confidential. That would mean that it is not public and it will be not seen outside. So the entry itself. But a collection can be confidential, and I'll just talk about this when I start explaining about the collections. That would mean about the collection, that the collection itself, it is not seen in IATE, and especially for external users, because the terms themselves can be found and can be seen, but not the collection itself. So it's you cannot see that it's organized in a collection. So in this case, it's confidential, but these are not confidential documents in this sense.
Okay, and can they be used as such? If, for example, you see such a confidential term, it means that it's as valid as the others, even if it is confidential.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome, Smaranda. Okay, so search by collections. So what are collections? Why do we search by collection? Why do we need them? Well, they are, or let's just show you first the collections. Well, you see here three types, three colors of collections. We see the blue ones, and it actually says related to project management. We see the orange ones related to subject area, and we see the gray ones which are called other, but this name will be changed. And in the PowerPoint presentation, you already have the new name. It's miscellaneous, it will be. So this is a nice way to organize the terms in IATE. And why? For so many reasons. First, because it is good to know which institution is working on which collection right now, and we do not interfere with the work of others. But term bases can be created on the basis of collections. So, for instance, I would like to have a collection. I would like to have database or term base to be used in studio for translators on climate. So I have a look what's in IATE as a collection, and I see there is one blue collection of the European Parliament in multiple languages, in 24 languages. I see there are two gray collections of the Commission, and I see the orange collections of the Commission here. So what does it? I can have this related to subject area. I can open it. I can have a look how many terms there are, if they are good for me or not. I can add some other collections to my search, and like this prepare a beautiful term base for myself, either in Studio or in Excel, and use it afterwards. So the collections are a way of organizing the terms, either for projects. For instance, this is a typical project management. It is EP, our collection about climate, and it's for trainees projects, because our trainees in the European Parliament, in the translation units, it's mandatory for them to have a terminology project of 10 terms. So these are the blue ones. The orange ones are the best ones, because they are actually related to subject area. We can say a subdomain in IATE, or subdomain, and they are quite valuable because they are, well, they cover the whole subject area as it is here. So they have a certain topic. And the gray ones are, which are called other still, but will be called miscellaneous. They are for administrative purposes, for deletions, for instance, or for post-adoption, when terms have to be changed. So what is interesting here, you see this sign here. So if you hover with the mouse, it says confidential. Well, that means by default, the blue and the gray collections are confidential by default. They cannot be seen by outside users. This, with the three little people here, it's not confidential. So it's public. It can be seen from the outside. Yes, so the gray ones for deletions, for all kinds of administrative purposes. And you can even see here, it is this one, climate change, and you can even see the name, Nineta's name. So this is one of the central terminologies in the Commission. And this is how they organize, and this is also Nineta, this is how they organize their work for administrative purposes. And it says for a future project. So this is how she obviously collects the terms, and later on it will be either linked to another collection, probably related to subject area, or can be related to project management. So this is about the types of collections. So let's have a look what we have here. So I have a look at this climate change, because this is presumably the biggest one. So I click on it, and yeah, that doesn't. I see that there is a question there, but I cannot see the chat because I have the whole screen opened. And if you have questions, please interrupt me, or after every section, I take a break and ask if there are questions. So if there are questions, please ask them, because I cannot see the chat.
Yes, I have a question. Could you explain the added value of the Orange collections, because what I have difficulty understanding is that we have already thematic collections in the domains, and that is one thing. So as if I understand correctly, the Orange collections are thematic ones, but we already have domains. And on the other hand, if I'm working on a specific text, I don't want a collection containing a lot of terms. I want to be able to extract the exact terms that are suited for my needs. So could you explain what is the added values of having these collections? Thank you.
Yes, well, these the collections are much more specific than the subdomains. The subdomains are, well, they've been there forever, and the collections is something that's ongoing, that's rather new. So, for instance, if you have let's have another example. I really like this example with the collections of the Court of Justice. Some years ago, the Parliament was amending the rules of procedure of the Court of Justice. And if you go to domain and law, there will be too many terms, even in the domain and the subdomain of the Court of Justice. But if you go to collections and search for the collection of the Court of Justice, and this is how you do it. You go to open expanded search, institution, what I just did with the expanded search, Court of Justice. This is the easiest way. Search, and there you have the collections of the Court of Justice. So this is the collection rules of procedure. So let's say you're working on this topic, rules of procedure of the Court of Justice. And I remember, because I was a translator back then in the Bulgarian translation unit, and back in the days, Curia was not even a part of IATE. So what we were doing was, spending some time on the website of the Court of Justice and just having a look at the English and the Bulgarian version. So instead of doing this, which would be insane when we have such a perfect collection here, and I just open it to show you. Yeah, I clicked on it, and it takes some time. Click again. It is still the old collection. You can see the yes, now it works. Well, let's click again. No? Okay, so let's do it in another way. Usually when you click on the collection, it is, you can see it here down there. But the other way to see it is you click on the plus and you go on apply. So that should work. It has never happened to me before that I click on a collection and it's not displayed. But yeah, obviously they are still working on this in IATE, well, in the city, I mean. Right, so in my example, I have here, you see, 455 terms that are so strictly related to the rules of procedure of the Court of Justice. So it would make no sense to have a look at the domains and subdomains when I have a collection like this. So I either export this collection in Excel and have a look at this, and you can see how good it is done, and you see most of them, they have 4 stars for very reliable. I just scroll down to show you. So you either export it in Excel or you export it as a term base in SDL and use it as a translator in directly in Studio. So the collections in this sense are more specific. And also another good point is if there is something new going on, like the war in Ukraine, for instance. If you go searching for collections on Ukraine, you probably find 4 or 5, and this is ongoing. So these are this is the best way to find the newest and well, the best terms actually, and it's much more specific than the subdomains, because you go over a subject area that's either very new or ongoing right now. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Okay, so now I can hear. Is there another question?
It's possible for me to ask a question as well, briefly.
I did. Can you please repeat the question?
Is it possible for me to ask a question as well, briefly?
Of course.
Yes. As a terminologist in the digital one,
Yes.
we face a serious problem. In the past, there was, yes, the procedures regarding the entry of new terms were a bit lenient, and that resulted in a vast number of entries on the IATE, which are either not up to date or even of low quality, and they should not be used. So, plainly speaking, our Greek IATE is full of rubbish, and the more you go into the past, the more unfortunate, so to speak, terms you encounter. So we face the problem to comb the IATE, the Greek part of the IATE, and get rid of the terms which should not be used anymore. But in order to do so, we would benefit greatly if there was a way to browse the database according to the date of entry of each term. Is this possible? Because we are interested, for instance, in terms of the 1990s, for instance, because they have a far higher possibility of being obsolete and having to be cleared out. Is it possible to?
I'm sorry for interrupting you, but the sound is so bad, and I only understood CDT. No, not CDT. Commission. Wait a second. I have to. Maybe somebody can mute.
Is it better now?
No.
I think it would be better if people switched off their cameras when not speaking, because we're quite many and WebEx does not support very well sound if video is on.
Yeah, maybe it's
Try.
no, but I think it was the problem with the sound that some other colleagues were not muted, and there was some. So
Perhaps.
I understood that you were talking about the old, the legacy data in.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
And that should be cleared out in the Greek part of the IATE. So we would benefit greatly from an option, if there is one, of searching according to the date of entry.
Yes. Well,
when each term was generated, is it possible to do that?
When it was generated, yes, but the problem is, yes, and it is a huge problem actually. It is a part of the advanced search, and there you can search by date. The problem is that a lot of terms, and especially in your case, the commission's terms, because these are mostly the terms that have to be cleaned. They were, some of them, maybe, well, a lot of them actually were modified by CDT. And the problem is that it doesn't help you in this case, the advanced search, because if it is modified, then you do not have the initial date. You have the date of the modification, and it goes as a creation date. So this is I would go, when you clean, I would go first looking at all the terms with very low reliability. And this is done with the advanced search, so I'll show you in a second. Okay?
Yes, I think I know how to do it.
Yes, okay, perfect. Okay, but this is
for instance, choosing the terms with 1 or 2 or 3 stars.
Well, not 3 stars. 3 stars
Not
is already
3,
reliable.
2. But okay, some of them have 3 stars, but do not deserve 3 stars.
Yes,
There's this problem as well.
Yes, I understand, but this is your decision in this case. But I can
Yes,
assure, I can tell you already, and probably you know this, that there is one of the priorities for the institutions this year is cleaning of the legacy data. And the Commission took the leading part right now. So there will be a meeting on Friday, how to proceed with the cleaning of IATE. And some terms have been, well, a lot of terms have been already cleaned at the beginning of the year by the terminologies of the Commission. So this is ongoing work, and in the end, it will be all good and nice and neat in IATE, but it takes time.
It will take an awful lot of time to do that.
Yes.
In
Yes.
some languages, as
Yes. Okay. So I have to
okay,
continue
thank you.
now.
Thank you very
Sorry?
much.
Yes, you're welcome. Okay, so this is the way to see the collection. Usually when you click on it, I'll try again because this is so annoying. No, it doesn't work. But usually if you click on it, or if it doesn't work, you go on the plus, add to selection like I did here, and then apply. Here, you can also change the languages. For instance, so in my case, let's take English, French, let's take Dutch, and I don't know, Italian, for instance. You go to apply, and you see the selected collection in these languages that you have selected. And what is here extremely useful, and I'll just show it now, is the interpreter's view. So this is the normal standard view by default. Interpreter's view looks like this. And it is so just a second. So great because you can see all the terms at a glance. You see the Anka language here, French, obviously, because it's the court of justice. What is very important is here you have this show metadata. So if you click on this, you see also the additional information. So this is the IATA entry itself and the collections to which the terms are linked. And of course, you can play with different languages. And what is completely new and is quite nice is the sorting alphabetically. So if you click here on the arrow, for Italian, for instance, it will be sorted alphabetically in Italian. If I go Dutch, it will be sorted alphabetically in Dutch, and so on and so forth. So this is quite valuable for the interpreters to have everything in the whole table at a glance. So after you have seen what is inside of the collection, you might want to have this, and obviously it is easier to have it in Excel or already in your SDL Studio project. So in order to do this, you have to export what you found. But just to show you that you can actually export more than one collection. So this is the collection that I've selected, but I'll select another one because this is the national jurisdiction. And for instance, I'm a translator in the European Parliament, and I translate a very difficult document about immunities. In this case, this national jurisdiction would be so valuable for me because I have the names of all the national jurisdictions. Oh my God. So I select this as well, go on apply. And as I have selected 2 collections here, you see the number of the terms have increased because obviously both of them are displayed. So if you don't want to see this, the collections and the additional information, you can hide the metadata. Just be careful, because if you hide the metadata, if you just click on here, nothing happens. If you want to go to the IATE entry, you have to click here on the IATE ID. Otherwise, just clicking on the terms inside the table doesn't give you access to the IATE entry. So this is about the metadata, is quite important. So you export the collection, and this is quite interesting to know. So name of request, well, you put something test, well, something that you remember, obviously. And here you can decide about the output format. So you click on this and you see the first three are about SDLTB, so translators working in studio projects. TBX, some translators outside, as far as I know, the European institutions use only Studio, but some external translators use TBX, so that would be the format in this case. And Excel and SQLite are quite important as well, because if you want to prepare database for you in Excel, these are the formats. So what is the difference? SDLTB is well, this is the heaviest format for Studio. You cannot, if I click on this, I cannot choose the fields, obviously, because they are pre-selected and you can see them in the handbook. What we usually recommend in the Parliament is the second one, because you have less fields and it's not as heavy as the other one. The third one, SDLTB Mini, is stripped even of more fields, but one field that's very important, namely reliability, is not there. So if a translator would like to see the reliability, what I would recommend, cannot use the Mini one. Okay, so Excel and SQLite. Excel is normal Excel, and you see in your Excel the normal by default view. So not the interpreter's view, but the default view. In the Lite version here, SQLite, you see it will be a mirrored vision of what you see in the interpreter's view. So let's see how this looks. Just before that is execute after core hours. Well, this is by default. If you click on it because you need it very, very urgently, there will be a warning. This is a resource intensive operation. Please be careful. It's very expensive, and so on and so forth. You go on OK. I am exporting Lite. You go on OK. And here, hope you can see it in green, it says, okay, it has been registered, and you can go to asynchronous requests and get it from there. So where are they? You go to the management tab here in the middle, and they're exactly in the middle, asynchronous requests. We click on this, and there it is. This is my term base that I just requested, submitted, and delayed by default. So in order to let you know how this looks, I'll just go to the PowerPoint presentation, scroll down a little bit so that I can show you the difference. All right. So I hope can you see the PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Okay, great. This, oops, yes, no, this is not what I wanted, thanks. Okay, well, at least you can see that it's very detailed, and it's with a lot of arrows, and too expensive to not do this, and all the basic and expanded search that I haven't done today. All right, so no, search by collection, and this is the format. Okay, so this is what you see in, not in SQLite, but in Excel. So you see here on the left, you see the number, the IATE ID. You see the domain here, and you see the terms in German, English, Spanish, and French and Italian. These were the terms that I requested yesterday. So this is your, let's say, mirrors the normal view in IATE. The next one is in Excel Lite. So you see the big difference here. IATE ID is clickable. So if you click on it, you go to IATE and you can see the whole entry. And it's not organized downwards, but it's organized to the side. So you have Bulgarian, you have Czech, you have Danish, you have all the languages that you need. And it's kind of, well, it's actually much easier for the eye as well to see this. Okay, so this was about the export, but how do we create the collection? So let's have a look at this. So in the management tab, we go to collections. Here you have also the search button. I usually prefer to search by collection here in the search by collection, but of course, come on. I usually prefer this, but of course, in the management tab, if you go to collections, you can also search here. So how do you create? Let's say you have a new act or something, a new rules of procedure of another institution or something. You would like to have a collection on rules of procedure of the European Investment Bank, for instance. So you go to collections, and down there you see two buttons which are quite important. The first one is add new collection, and the second one is start batch operation. So you click on add new collection, and by default for me it's EP. Language you decide, is it multiple languages or is it a language specific collection? So you see now for the new collection, I already have EP more because it's in multiple languages. Short name, I have prepared some terms for a trainees project, and they are in the field of war terminology. And here it is not the fields with the asterisks, of course, they are mandatory. Here is not mandatory, but it's always good to see in which year this was worked on, or if it's still ongoing, because if another colleague sees that it's 2022, it's obviously a new collection, so he or she wouldn't touch it. Description, it is also mandatory, so let's see, trainees. Type, it is the same what I explained about the orange, blue, and gray collection. So you decide if it's related to project management, subject area, or other. So for our projects, for the for the trainees, they are always related to project management. Well, the gray and the blue ones are always confidential. They cannot be seen as collections, and it's good to know. The orange ones, like here, related to subject area, can be seen as collections. And you go to create. So the same thing happens. It goes, well, you can see now our new collection because it is sorted by default by creation date. You can see it up here. Of course, if you go to the basic search and search by collection, you can see it there as well. So now I have my collection, but what do I do with it? Because it's completely empty. So one possibility is, and Anna will show you later on, when you add the term or create the term, you can also link it to a collection. But if you already have a lot of terms that you know that they should be linked, you don't have to do it term by term. For this, you use the start batch operation. So the batch operation, I click on this button next to the add new collection. And first, I have to well, select the collection to which I want to link the terms to. So this is my collection that I just created. Add to selection. I go on the plus, and you see here in the batch operation, they can be linking or unlinking. And this is quite important because you can also unlink some terms from the collections in one go, and it can be very useful. You don't have to go to every term and unlink it from there. So as I said, I have prepared some terms that I would like to link, and I copy them here. I just copy them with commas. In order to add them, I go to plus, and you see them under the field here. So you see all these 5 terms with the IATE IDs and the terms themselves. Right. So because my collection is it is in 24 languages, and it is, well, when it's ready, it's supposed to be full. I take the language in the independent level, and this is I always go back to the structure of the IATE entry, and that's why it's good to know this structure. So this collection, because it's in multiple languages, would be at this level. If it is only French collection, let's say, about terms that are to be found only in resolutions of the European Parliament, then you go to language level, because this is a specific for one language. It doesn't have to be at language independent level. So execute after core hours. By default, the same warning will appear if I click on this and I want it now. So I go on OK. And then I'll get the same green notice here, batch operation submitted. The same is management asynchronous request. I see it here. So this is you can always click on show more and see what you are doing. Like with the export as well, I can expand and see what I'm doing here. Right, and something to remember about the collections, you cannot delete a collection that already has terms. So if you want to delete it, you have to first unlink the terms. It would be the same as with the start batch operation. Unfortunately, my terms are not there, but I'll go on selection, and here I will not link, but unlink, put the same terms, go on plus, and it will be OK, and then they will be unlinked. And then I can delete it, because if it's full of terms, it cannot be deleted, and it's good to remember this. Right, so I suppose this was everything about collections, and I can start with the next type of search. So basic and expanded here in the first tab, search by collection was here, and advanced search. I'll just select, when it's ready, I'll select the standard view, not the interpreter's view, because it's easier to see that way. So advanced search, there are, well, what is it about? There are numerous filters at every level. A language independence you see here, so language independent level domain. And that's why I said it's so very important to know what is situated where. Well, they are logical, because domain can be only language independent, of course, but it's good to have a look. So language independent, language level, or term level. So when you open the advanced search for the very first time, you won't see a query like this. It will be probably, well, I'll just delete this and add a rule. It will be something like this. So some things to remember here. The filters, you can add them, of course, but then you have to pay attention, is it and or is it or? Because when it's and, they are cumulative together. If it's or, then it searches for this or for the other one. The results should be in a language, so you have to pick at least one language, otherwise you won't be able to see this. So I'll just import one of the queries. I'll show you in a second how to save them and how to import them, but just so I have something to talk about. So this first query, I hope you can see well. I can actually enlarge it a little bit more, but I hope it's big enough. So what you see here in this query is I am looking for all the terms that belong to this collection, belongs to collection, language independent level in, and I start typing the collection. So for instance, I start typing human rights, and usually, and there it is. There are all the collections. Well, Council has more EP. This is my collection. So I want to see how full this collection is. And I want to find all the terms that are lacking in Bulgarian. So what I do for this, my first filter is belongs to collection in my collection, obviously, and I can also put other collections here if I want to, and has language, also language independent, not in Bulgarian. You see that it's and it's not or, because if it's or, it will look for both individually. So show results in English. What I can do is I can count them to see how many there are. Well, there's 64 in these collections. It is too much. They have to be sent out to trainees. This is not good that we don't have these terms in Bulgarian, especially in a collection like human rights. So what I can do is I can export them and have them at hand to show them, okay, look, there are more than 60 terms not available. I can also go on search and I can see them. So we'll see all these 60 something terms, 64 terms, Committee on Enforced Disappearances, Victim Support Services, all good terms, and they are not available in Bulgarian. So what the advanced search does is you have a lot of filters, and you can play with them and search for different things. So for instance, this, I have a collection, but I lack a certain language, in this case, Bulgarian. Of course, I can add other languages here. So you don't have to create these queries every time from scratch. What you can do is you can export the query itself, or you can save it in IATE. So how do you do this? You go to show textual query. So you see a lot of things here. You don't have to, well, you don't care about this. What you care about is give this query a name. So I'll just call it 0. It doesn't matter what name. And now you can see that you can download it. You can download it in TXT, or you can forward it by email, or you can save the query. I'll save it, and I have it here together with my other queries. When I go to saved queries, I have it here. So from there, I can import it, and then I have it here. I'll just import the next one so you can see how it goes, because it was already imported there. So the query 2, I click on it and I import it. So in this case, with the second query, what do we have here? I want to find all the primaries that do not have Bulgarian terms, and the owner is the EP, because we have to take to take care of the terms that are not done in certain languages, and especially the newer languages like Bulgarian and Croatian and Romanian. So in this case, I'll have a look at the primary terms, so the very best terms. It has language not in Bulgarian, and the owner is us, the European Parliament. So I count, and I hope they're not many, but unfortunately they are quite a lot. So this has to be corrected as well. And going like this with different filters, I can do so many other things. For instance, the query 3 would be, I have which are the entries from a certain domain. So I have chosen the domain at a language independent level. In law, for instance, or law of the Court of Justice, the other domain. Belongs to language, I would like to have German. And I would like to have all the German terms that are quite reliable. And now this is quite important because it is not a language independent level here has language in German. Because if I take this language independent has a language in German, that would mean that I can still take German, right? That would mean that it will find all the terms in this domain with German, but not necessarily reliability in German. So it can be, there will be German terms for sure, but the reliability is probably for in English. So if I want to have the German language with reliability for, then it will be a language level belongs to language. Language validation, node owner protection. Just a second, we'll find it belongs to confidential. Well, you see, there are quite a lot belongs to a language. Yes, because this is the first one, and I put my German there. Okay. So again, I can count, I can export, and do whatever I like with these terms. So the next query would be, if I have, let's say, some terms were already inserted in IATE after the Commission presented its proposal. But after adoption, this has to be changed, and we cannot have in definition reference, context reference, or term reference, we cannot have proposal for a directive. So I would like to find all the terms of which the EP is the owner, that they belong to English, and where I have proposal for a directive. And like this, I can have a list of all these terms and change them to the directive that has been already adopted. And another query I would like to show you is this one. So let's say I have already, you see that I have not only one group of rows, I have two groups of rows. So you see here on the top is English, and the definition is not empty. So I'm looking for terms with definition, with a definition in English, but in the French version, in the French language, of which the owner is us, the European Parliament, the definition is empty. So it is quite important to see which are these terms and maybe correct this and put also the definition in French. And this is something, a query that I created for the Maltese unit. You see, again, two groups. And we have and all together. So the first group is the English one. The second group is the other language. So it belongs to a language, English. And term type is not in a lookup form because the lookup form should be excluded. They are too much for a term base, especially when you work in studio and you see this little window there, the terminology viewer. It's too little to see also the lookup forms. And the reliability, I have excluded the downgraded terms that will be deleted because they are quite unreliable. On the Maltese side, I have belongs to language Maltese. I have also excluded the lookup forms, but you can always play with these filters. It just depends on what you want to achieve. And the Maltese colleague, they have asked for not to include the unreliable terms. So they would like to have all the terms starting from 3 stars. And this is the evaluation at term level, not in deprecated and obsolete. So they'll have the other 3 possibilities. And the same thing for the Portuguese unit would be exactly the same, but also they would like to have only the primaries. So now we have 3 groups: the primarity, where we have to belongs to language and belongs to Portuguese with the same criteria as before. The only difference is these are the primaries. And I'll show you what we usually do in term court when we prepare a term base, thematic term base for our language units, for our translators. This is how it looks. Belongs with this quite a big query, belongs to collection. Of course, we can have numerous collections. Here you just click here and you start writing, or you can choose it from the drop-down menu. Belongs to language or the 24 languages, not in lookup forms. We exclude the deprecated and obsolete ones. And for the English side, it belongs to the same collection and the term is not empty. So this is how a good query looks like when you want to prepare a big term base. So of course, after that you export it. It is exactly the same as for the collections. You decide how you export it. If you export it in Excel, Excel Lite, if you export it in SDOTB for use in Studio. So it's up to you. Well, just to let you know that we have, I hope you can, yes. Well, this is also included in the PowerPoint presentation. You have the link there. These are all our term bases that we have created for our translators in the European Parliament. This is our external website, Term Court EU, term bases / term bases. And if you scroll down, they are the term bases are in alphabetical order. So if you find anything interesting there, be our guest and take it from there. It is in SDOTB and in TBX. And apart from the thematic term bases that you can create on the basis of the advanced search, the other type is what we called defined terms. So this we do manually. We extract the definitions from the COM proposal, but not only. Also all the connected legal acts in force. So this is the first. If you click on here, it is zipped. So if you click on here, the first term base would be something like Fit for 55 COM STOTP, and these are the definitions, the defined terms with the definitions of from the COM proposal and the legal acts in force that are connected to this procedure. So as I said, there is a link in the PowerPoint presentation about this. Right, so I have to rush to the batch search because we are running out of time. So batch search, it is quite a useful tool if you want to see what is already in IATE. So I have prepared, well, you can search by list of terms and you can search by list of entry IDs. Usually you search by list of terms, but it really depends on your needs. So I'm going to show you how to do this. First, you have to download this or this table and copy paste in the table your terms. Well, we have received Excel table from our subtitling unit in Director D, and they would like to have a project as a part of audiovisual project on subtitling terms. So what I did was I took the terms from there. You don't see what I'm doing, but I'm just uploading the template that I have downloaded from here with the terms already included. And I have already the file name because this is the name of the Excel, my Excel. So the type, it would be by a list of terms because I don't have the IATE IDs. I would like to see what is already in IATE. Output format, I would go for either Excel or Excel Lite because I can see what is there. So let's say Excel Lite, and this is all the same. Execute after core hours. Source language, this is quite important because you have to set this, otherwise it wouldn't work. Matching type, I would recommend exact match because if you want to see exactly which terms are already in IATE and if other terms are needed to be created there, you don't want to see the exact strings because probably this is something that you would like to create. So exact match would be exactly what you're looking for in the table. And you launch it as a synchronous job. The same thing repeats. You go to the management, asynchronous request, and you have it here, submitted and delayed. Right. There is an alternative way for finding when you have a list of terms and you want to see if these terms are already in IATE. And I must admit that we use it even more often than the batch search. And this is something that you know very well. This is term recognition, the TRM, the term recognition module. So it would be the same. I'm not going to get into any details because this is a part of the basic training, but you upload the file. And what is very important here is to remember, upload the file, to remember to use as a format. So you put request name, source language is detected automatically if it's only one language. Otherwise, you have to set it yourself. In the output format, and this is the important thing, is you do not use SDLTB, you use HTML. And when it's ready, and you go on create, of course, this it's not in the management tab. This is in retrieve TRM requests. So when it's ready, it will be here, and it would look something like this. You see, and you can see, oh, these terms are already in IATE. Of course, this is not the same subtitling list. This is just a PR of the European Parliament, but this is the same logic. So using the TRM to find which terms of your list are already in IATE. Okay. So I'm going to the end of my part of the presentation. The last but one feature I would like to show you is the marks. So it's a nice way of communicating, and you go to the management tab, and marks are just next to the asynchronous requests. Marks. So here, institution by default is EP for me. Diffusion, I would go to central terminology. And how do I check? Well, I go to search, and I can see all the marks that were sent to us. For instance, from the commission, IATE sent a mark, and you go down, and you can have a look what is going on. Of course, if you are, let's say, a terminologist in the Bulgarian translation unit, you go on BG and you have a look at what they have only one mark. This is for checking. So how do you create the mark? Let's say you have a term that you're not happy about. Let's say it's rules of procedure, but it doesn't really matter. So there is one term and you're not happy about it. And you would like to send a mark to the owner of this term. So for this, when it has opened, when you go in the IATE entry, on the at language independent level, the first level here, you see, I have to move this so you can see it. So here at the language independent level, you see this, well, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth element here, marks. So if there was a mark, that would be orange, but it's blue. So if I want to create, it means there is no mark. But if I want to create a mark, I click on the marks, no results found, but there is a plus here, add a mark. And it is quite self-explanatory what you have to do. There are some fields with asterisks, you have to fill them in. Is it a task or is it just a comment? For instance, you decide, text your mark, this should be deleted, this should not be touched, something like this. Related to specific project ID or co-decision file reference that would be helpful if, for instance, we actually recommended using marks to our lawyer linguists in the European Parliament. So in this case, they would probably go for the co-decision file reference, and that would be very useful for the terminologists who receives the marks. And the last thing is download IATE. So it's not such use for the colleagues in the European institutions, because of course we have the basic, the expanded and the advanced search, which is great. But just for your information, and if there are terminologies outside of the institutions, or just to check it out, you go to the homepage and there it is, download IATE. It can be downloaded in TBX or in Excel. And you have to be logged on. So for external users, they have to have EU login. It takes only 2 seconds to do this. So output formats, you decide, let's say Excel, languages, you can take all of it. Collections, that would be the same. Filtering, domains, you can click on the domains, and let's click on this, for instance. Very good domain. Term type, you decide about this. Reliability, you take this, for instance, away from evaluation, you take this away. So, and you create your download request. So when it's ready, it will be here, but you can see it doesn't have so many filters, and it's of course not as valuable as the advanced search. So I am back to you. I can still see some faces, couldn't see anything. And I am going to give the floor to Anna now.
Thank you, Adi. I see one raised hand in the participants panel. Would anyone like?
Yes, that was me. If I may ask a quick question from Nadezhda. It's from the last bit of the presentation. I've seen a field, a language independent level called aggregated field completion score, and it also has a value that you can set. Could you just quickly please explain what this means?
Yeah, well, more information about this you can find in the IATE handbook, but basically it means how full a certain IATE entry is. So it is a good filter to play with. For instance, if the definition is full, that it gives you a certain number of points. And it increases, of course. If the definition is full, it increases. If the definition is not full, it decreases. If in order to create a IATE entry, and this is going to be shown just now by Anna, you need just a very, very few fields. But it doesn't, so the IATE entry is already there, but this aggregated filter gives you more information how full this IATE entry is. So the bigger the value, the better the IATE entry.
Thank you.
Anna, it's
okay. Thank you. So I will now start sharing my screen. I hope it goes well. A nerve-wracking moment, because last time my connection failed when I started sharing. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so I will try to be very concise because I don't have much time left. My part of the presentation is rather addressed to the colleagues who have only recently become terminologists or are going to become terminologists and do not have yet a lot of experience in adding and creating entries in IATE. So the colleagues who have been terminologists for a longer time already know all of this, but perhaps I can at least remind you of some options that you do not often use. So I will show you now how to add a term to an existing entry. Just one important remark at the beginning, I'm focusing only on the technical side of adding terms. For the content of the fields, please always refer to the language-specific annexes that are available in IATE, because the detailed interinstitutionally agreed editing rules vary between languages. So I have here Southeast Atlantic Fisheries Commission, and I see that there is no Polish term, so I would like to add it. I click first on English. It takes some time. Okay, it opened. And now we already have two ways of adding the term. One is to right-click on the PL button and add new language. And the other way is via the Quick Edit panel to the left. A Quick Edit panel includes exactly the same features as are available directly in this main form, and it simply provides an alternative way of accessing them and allows to jump quickly between the different fields. So the principle is the same, and when you are familiar with one way of adding an entry, you can then easily explore the other. So I start completing. PL, add new language. I have already researched my definition, so I will copy it here. And now a toolbar appears below. Mostly these are simple formatting functions, not requiring any explanations. When you hover your mouse over it, you see what it is. There are three last ones that are more interesting: add link, clipboard, and URL search, and I will demonstrate them while completing the entry. So here we can already use the link button to insert an internal IATE link, because from the definition I see that the Southeast Atlantic Fisheries Commission is a body of the Southeast Atlantic Fisheries Organization, and this organization is already in IATE. So I will select it, click on the link, select entry to entry link. I type IATE ID, and now I choose PL and click OK, and my link has been already inserted. Then I will copy paste the reference. I took this page as my reference, the website of the organization in question. So now just a short digression about the source. It is an English language website, so why I chose it as a reference for a Polish entry. Usually we try to find sources in the language of the entry. But in this case, the institution is not often mentioned in Polish language sources, and let alone defined. So the best source of the definition is simply the website of the institution, and this is why I decided to translate the definition. So I copy already from the clipboard so as not to make it longer here. I will show you the clipboard in a moment how it works. So here I added the definition reference. I copied the breadcrumb trail from the website preceded by the Polish equivalent of based on. And it would obviously be different if the reference was a source with an author mentioned. Then I would necessarily have to reference the author's name, the title of the publication, etc. So again, for the precise referencing rules, please always refer to your language-specific guidelines. And here I will also, yes, if I did not have it in the, it's better to show you not from the clipboard, because I wanted also to show you copying the external link. So let's do this again. I just copied it now from the Word file, and then I want to add the external link to the website. So I copy the link, and then I go to the reference and I copy the link, and you also see that the date has been inserted automatically. And so I will demonstrate you the clipboard now. It is a very useful function. You can store the content in order to reuse it later. So it is extremely useful when working on many terms from the same source. You can just copy your source from the clipboard, so you avoid repetitive retyping, etc. Unfortunately, the content of the clipboard is not stored forever. It is browser dependent and contained in the local storage of the browser. So if the local storage is cleaned, the references in the clipboard are lost. Perhaps it will be improved in the future. So to add it to clipboard, you open the clipboard, you click Save to Clipboard. And then it is there. And if I click on clipboard, I click here, Insert from clipboard, and my reference is back. Now I go to the term. Also, you see a lot of those green plus and red minus signs. When you hover your mouse over them, you see what they refer to. This is add definition reference, so we could possibly add another definition reference. But let's go to the term now. So I copy my term. And then I have also the opportunity to show you the URLEX search, because I have found the term in a document in URLEX on exactly this topic, namely the Convention on the Conservation and Management of Fishery Resources in the Southeast Atlantic Ocean. So I can copy my SILEX reference. I go to URLEX search, and here we have three options: URLEX, SILEX, and official journal. The principle is the same in every case, so I will just show you with the SILEX number. I copy paste my SILEX number, go to search, and then my title is found automatically. I can only insert it, and it is done. Here also, please take into account the language-specific annexes. There might be some specific rules on shortening long URLEX titles in your language. Then I select term type. This is rather self-explanatory. There are only questions sometimes about phrase and formula. So formula is, for instance, for chemical formula, mathematical and other scientific expressions, and phrase for phraseological units that are not strictly speaking terms, but must be always translated in the same way. So we choose term, and then reliability. I will propose for it the 3-star reliability. This means reliable. Why not 2? Why not 4? 2 would be definitely too weak. 2-star reliability is used when there are doubts whether the source is absolutely reliable, or it can be used when there are different terms in equally reliable sources. And in that case, we can note a term with 2 stars to show that it is not strictly normative. There might be other options to be considered. Reliability 2 is also appropriate for neologisms for which the language usage is only shaping itself now. For reliability 3, I will quote a IATE handbook, which reads, terms having been obtained from a trusted source or having been agreed on by a representative body of same language terminologists. And for reliability 4, the IATE handbook reads, well established and widely accepted by experts as the correct designation, confirmed by a trusted and authoritative source, in particular a reliable written source. So here a difference between 3 and 4 might seem a little vague, so the precise practices might vary between different language communities. So again, please always consult your specific guidelines. I would say that we use 3 as a default sufficiently confirmed reliability, and we use 4 stars to indicate that the term is not only reliable, but to put a special accent to show that it is strictly normative and really there is not any discussion possible about the term, for instance, when it has been established by a national standardization body. So, but there is certainly a level of arbitrariness in assigning the reliabilities. So we have 3 here. And also the users with the translator profile in IATE can only assign 2 stars, and to raise the reliability of the term, you need the terminologist profile. Let's have just a quick look at the optional features. Now the term could already be saved. The mandatory fields are filled in. Optional features, we can expand from the language, from the language level. We have note, very useful field for any information that is not part of the definition but still helps you understand the concept or can give some additional insight. Related material can be used to record additional references in addition to those provided elsewhere in the entry. This field is not public, so it is more like an internal note. Management, it is also not public and is used by central terminology services for information relevant to the management of the terminology projects. Then we have collections. So here also we could link our term to a collections. For instance, if I can type fisheries, and we have here possible collections, and I could also create a new collection. Then attachments. You can attach documents or images. It can be interesting, for instance, for technical terms to show an image of devices to which the term refers. And you can upload several files, provided they are free of copyright and within the limit of 5 megabytes per file. And then pre-IATE means that the term is considered not yet fully confirmed. We can set it as confidential, not visible in public IATE, and we can set it as protected if an entry is protected, that it cannot be changed by the users from the other institutions. And at the term level, we have evaluation. Deprecated is a term that is considered not correct anymore. A question which is asked sometimes is, why don't we just delete it? This is because basically it concerns terms that might have been quite widely used and then they were considered not correct. For instance, after consultation with experts. So it is clearer from the point of view of the users to mark it as deprecated, ideally with an explanation in the note. Then to just delete, because if we deleted it, then the term would suddenly disappear and the users would not know why. So then there is obsolete, a term that was previously used to denote the concept but is no longer in use. For instance, a name of an agency, which is changed. And then admitted, preferred, propose are self-explanatory. And then we have grammatical categories, part of speech, gender, number. Again, note on the term level, context. I will come back to the context in a moment. And below language usage, this is information on the way the term is used. For example, a term which is always used in plural, or information about spelling, etc. Regional usage, for information on the geographical area in which the term is used, when, for instance, different Dutch terms are used in Belgium and in the Netherlands. Again, management on the term level, collections, customer, to be used by services which work for many customers and might have different terms for different customers, like the translation center. And again, pre-IATE confidentiality and protection. So let's just come back quickly to the context. Context is an optional field, but it is recommended. Why do we need context when there is already definition with a reference and term with the reference as well? So the context can play several roles. It can be simply seen as an additional documentation for the term, one more source. Also, relatively new terms and for relatively new terms and for rare terms, it can be a proof that the term is actually used. And also it can be an explanatory context, which is not strictly a definition, but provides information that helps to understand the concept. In the context to reference field, the reference can be less strict, meaning that if in the definition and term references we have encyclopedic or legal sources, then possibly in the context we could also have a press article to illustrate the usage of the term on the ground. So it is to be evaluated case by case which context is useful for a given term. So I start my context already in the clipboard to be quick. And the reference. So the Polish-speaking colleagues among you see also that this is actually not a very great context because it does not have much added value, does not say anything about the term, it only documents that the term is used by the Polish Marine Fisheries Institute, but I could not find any better context now. So my term is ready and all the mandatory fields and the context fields are filled in. I go to save and the term has been created. It is always possible to edit it. So now it goes to the validation list and it will be validated by another Polish terminologist from the EP. It is always possible to edit it, so we can double click on the precise field to reopen it and edit. And we can also click on the pencils here to open whole section. So here the definition section, and also for the term, it's possible to open the entire section and edit. So that's it about adding a new entry. And I have only 10 minutes left. So very quickly, I will also try to demonstrate creating a new entry from scratch. It will be much shorter because I already told you about most of the fields, so I will just concentrate on what is relevant for the creation of a new term. So I click on the new entry button, and the entry creation form is opened. Here I have it in monolingual mode. It is also possible to start editing in 2 languages at once, but I don't find it very practical, so I will just go for English at first. And you can also change this setting here in your profile under user preferences. There is a choice between monolingual and bilingual creation form, but so I leave it for now. I'm back to creating a monolingual entry. I start so. There is a duplicate detection. So if I start typing, for instance, rusty spotted cat, then I got a warning that this term might be a duplicate. If I go and check, yes, indeed, there is such a term and even 3 duplicates. So I'm not going to create the 4th one. So you should always check carefully because this duplicate search functions only as an exact match. So when there is an identical term from a different domain, you will also get a warning, although it is not at all a duplicate. And on the other hand, when your term is in singular and the other one is in plural, or when there is a slight difference in the wording, then it will not be identified. So before we start adding a new term, it is useful to look first for spelling variants, possible synonyms, or possible different wordings of a given term, because it might already be there. So I will try now. I will try fishing cat. I get no warning. I do not know of any synonyms. I did not get any results in Latin either. So I conclude that it is not in IATE. So I will very quickly complete the entry from my clipboard. So it was a term reference. Yes. And then I will set a low reliability pending the validation by a native speaker. And then I quickly copy the definition. So you see that the clipboard is very useful. Definition reference was from, oh, I lost my definition reference. I don't see very well. Okay, I will I'm quite in a rush right now, so.
And it's the third one. You're the
Uh-huh. Okay, I will copy notes from Word. I'm sorry because I'm trying to be very fast, so of course the things are not going well. So I will copy from Word. I have scenario B here. And so the mandatory fields have been completed. And then, so what is specific about the creation of the entry? We have to add the domain. This can be a little bit tricky because there are lots of options. So one way is looking for related terms to see in which domains they are placed and select yours by analogy. And you can also browse the full domain structure to search for where you would logically expect it. You would logically expect to find the term in question. So I will quickly go for zoology. I'm typing here, I choose and natural environment. And yes, then it is not primary because it's only one language now. Anchor language has been already identified by default. So, and just a quick look on the additional features. Very important one is cross-reference. Because it shows us relations between different entries is very useful information for the users. So here, since the family of Felide is also already in IATE, this entry is narrower than, and then I type, and you see, so it's narrower than Felide, and I can also create a reciprocal cross-reference in the selected entry, so it will automatically appear in the other entry. And that's it. My entry has been created. There is also note at this level, and there is life cycle, historical, proposed, abandoned. So historical is not to be confused with obsolete. The obsolete label that you saw on the term level means that the term is considered as obsolete, the term. And the historical label is on the language independent level and means that the very object to which the concept refers does not exist anymore. So like any institution that completely stopped existing. And so I can create my term now. I go to create, and it has been created. And of course, again, I could edit it again. So thank you very much. That's all from me. We are 2 minutes before the end. I had to rush, but we will send you the presentation afterwards with all the details.
And just to let you know, because I had a private message from a colleague with a request to get also the basic IATE training. So I'll just send both PowerPoint presentations to you. The basic search features are also included in the advanced PowerPoint presentation. But in the basic one, you have a lot of information about the TRM and how to attach the term base to a studio project if you're interested. And also something new, as it was today, we were quite rushing through the features of IATE. It is not possible to give you all the information in 2 hours about the advanced features. And that's why we decided, starting from September, to divide the advanced training in 2 parts and to have one specific on Anna's part, what she just showed you about how to add a language and how to create a new term from scratch. And another one about the advanced features and more about the advanced search, and maybe a little game as well to create your own query, because it's a lot of fun and I can recommend it to use it, the advanced search. So thank you so much, and well, bon appetit to everybody, and have a great sunny weather. It's so nice and sunny in Luxembourg. I hope it's the same in Belgium, in Brussels. So all the best, and yeah, see you soon. Bye.
Thank you very much.